the race in the Central. That's kind of what I wanted to go towards. What are your guys' kind of thoughts on that? How do we kind of match up with Minnesota? And is that a real race right now in the division?
We might as well enjoy it while they're there. That I think the Tigers aren't a whole lot worse than the Twins. They can make a run at them. The Twins have probably the better starting pitching, and that could be the difference. But earlier this week I tweeted about the 2018 Tigers. I don't know if you guys saw that. That team, a lot like this team. Early in the year, they were trying to get to 500. They were oh so close. They just couldn't quite do it. They were 2.5 games out of first place on June 17th. They were 36-37. And a lot of guys that I know very well who are really devoted, smart fans were saying, I love this team. I love this, how they're playing. They're playing with guts and pride and heart and the whole deal. And, of course, they finished 64-98. So where's this team going to go? I don't know, but I think we should enjoy it while they're there.
As far as the rest of June is a brutal month. Talked about this yesterday on the Minor League podcast. The schedule is not favorable for the Tigers, and they have to really, if they can navigate that somewhat close to 500, then I would get a little more excited. But the one thing about the Twins that I really they have a couple guys that are just extraordinary talented and just guys that are they can make a big difference. And if they rest them right, and that is, I mean, one of them being Brian Buxton. If Buxton stays healthy, he's always been this is a guy who's a pain in the ass. And he's always going to be that way.
19 of their next 28 games are against teams that are currently above 500. 16 of those 19 games are against teams that are currently in first place in their divisions. The upcoming schedule could get kind of dicey. But if they can if they can play, I don't know, of these next 20, let's say they go 13-15, that sounds like actually a pretty good stretch of baseball.
In terms of Minnesota, I think they have the much better pitching. They're second in baseball right now in team ERA at 3.44. I just think their offense needs to get going. Carlos Correa needs to, be the player they paid him to be. And I still think with the Tigers, I had them as 75 wins. I still think they'll get there. I think they're going to tail off a little bit. I do still expect them to be sellers. I think they should be sellers just for the overall long-term health of this franchise. I think they have some assets that they can move and get really revamp this farm system and get some reinforcements coming in the future. So yeah, I think this is Minnesota's division to lose, and I wouldn't be surprised if Cleveland goes on a bit of a run as well, and maybe them and the Tigers could fight for third place in this division. But yeah, I don't necessarily think it's a true race for the Central right now.
The White Sox still have more talent than the Tigers, and I think the Twins have more talent than the Tigers. The White Sox are just kind of a jumbled mess that doesn't fit together. The Tigers are playing really well together right now, but I think the Twins, you've mentioned it, they've got they're too young. They're basically their equivalent of Torkelson and Green. They got them back this year in Kirilloff and Lewis, and they've both been productive. So that lengthens the lineup. And one of the interesting things, if you look at the stats right now, as a team, the Twins and the Tigers are both hitting 230 as a team. I think the Twins have a 9.4% walk rate. The Tigers have a 9.3% walk rate. They're almost identical offensively, except the Twins have like 30 more home runs than the Tigers.
Yeah.
And so, picture the way the Tigers have been playing, then add 30 home runs, and that's the offense you're going to see. The pitching is more talented. It's at some point, we're kind of trying to stay afloat. I think the Tigers are until Skubal comes back and maybe Turnbull and Manning, and then they've got, maybe a little bit more upside on the mound. But, it's tough when you got Matthew Boyd going every fifth day, and he pitched fairly well today, except for, it just seems like he tires around that fifth inning and two kind of inexplicable walks and then a hanging curveball, and then the game's basically over. So it's tough when you have him going, when you have Wentz not pitching up to his potential, and then you got to just hope that the rest of the week, Fido is on and Erod and Lorenzen continue to pitch well. So it's not a great place to be right now for the Tigers. You need a little bit more help, I think, in the rotation.